Hi guys, this is Fiza Bas. I'm back with another episode of my interview series. Today I have with me Nikki Dudley. Nikki is a managing editor of Street Cake magazine and also runs the Street Cake Writing Prize in Mumbai. She has a chapbook in collection with KFS. Her pamphlet is due out with Bearbua Press very soon. She's the winner of Virginia Prize 2020 and her second novel, Volta, was published in May 21. Hi, Nikki. How are you?
I'm okay, Fizza. How are you?
I'm perfectly all right. Thank you so much for giving me your time today. So let's just start. So tell me about your childhood. How were you as a kid? Were you a talkative, lively one, or somebody who would snuggle up with a book in a corner? So would you like to talk about that?
I was quite a quiet kid. Um, I didn't start school till I was six, so I think I was just a bit quieter. I didn't quite understand all the social norms and stuff in a way, but that was fine because you know, I quite liked just sort of disappearing into books and stuff, so that was good. And Yeah, I mean, when I got a bit older, I used to just live at the library and stuff. I'm a lot more confident now than I was when I was a kid. I was very quiet. Um, yeah, and not very confident. And that was basically the feedback I got every, school report. Nikki's great at lots of stuff, but she needs to be more confident. So yeah, so yeah, I definitely use writing and books to kind of escape to, like most writers, I guess.
Okay, interesting. So that's exactly what I wanted to ask you about. So my next question to you is, so what kind of recollections that you have of writing something in your childhood? Anything that you specifically remember? Any memories?
Yeah, well, in primary school, they used to give us this little scrapbook and we could kind of write down stories and stuff. And I remember just sitting there and writing all the time. It was one of my favorite times of the week or whatever. Um, and then one day, this author came in and visited us and taught us all about poetry. And I just thought it was the most amazing thing I'd ever heard about in my life. I was just like, wow, this is so cool. And, metaphors and similes and, rhyming stuff. It was just really cool. And I think after that, I was quite in love with poetry, really. So, of course, I still like to write stories. That was still really fun. But yeah, I definitely fell in love with poetry that day, I think.
Okay, so as you have talked about poetry and short stories, so I want to ask you about, so when you grew older, so how much and what really made you realize that, you love writing and this is something you want to pursue as a career? So was there somebody who inspired you to continue writing when you decided that this is something you wanted to do, or you did it, or you decided it yourself?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tricky one. I don't know. I've always felt like writing was just kind of something that I can't not do. Um, and from when I was quite young, I think I felt that way. So, once I learned about writing, I just wanted to do it all the time and stuff. And we got, a really old rubbish computer that took ages to do anything. And I would just sit there writing stories and stuff. And I'm not sure who inspired me, apart from that writer that was to school, obviously. And, you know, obviously my English teachers were pleased that I really liked English. Although a couple of them I had to ask them for more feedback because I was disappointed because they just wrote things like good at the bottom. And I was like, tell me more, how can I make it better? Which was probably quite annoying at the time, but I wanted to get better. So um, yeah, and I think actually quite an important person was when I think I was in about year 9 or 10 at school, so a couple of years left, and my tutor actually said to me, "Oh, Nikki, are you going to go to university?" And I just thought, what? No one in my family had ever gone to university, so it was really weird. And he said, "Yeah, you can study English. I know how much you love English." And I was like, I guess I could, yeah. So he was actually, just the fact that he asked me that question and he thought that I could go and do that was actually quite a big moment for me, really. So he was an important person for that. And then after that, I knew I wanted to study English and stuff. And then by the time I got there, they'd started doing creative writing as well. So that was even better.
Wow, that's so nice. I mean, I'm so glad that you found a teacher who, encouraged you to, pursue your dreams. So it's a nice thing. I mean, also, you talked about, asking for feedback. So it is such a, brave thing to do at an early age, because mostly, we are self-conscious about our work, especially when we are kids. So it's really, really a brave thing to do, honestly. So I would really, really I would really say this is something great you did. I wouldn't have been able to do it if I were of your age at that time. So that's a great thing. Kudos. So okay, so when did you start submitting to journals? Like when did that confidence come?
I think that was sort of maybe just at the end of my undergraduate degree, maybe. Obviously our lecturers would sort of tell us places to send stuff. I don't know if I got any work in anywhere at that point, really. Possibly. I think I also sent a poem into the London Writers' Competition, which I don't think exists anymore. And I think it got longlisted or something. So that was really nice. And then I think the second time I entered, I won something. I think I won some money, and I spent it on a publishing course or something. That was cool. But properly submitting, I would say probably during my master's, I decided to stay on at Roehampton where I studied, and that was a really good decision. And we started looking around for places then to submit to. So we sort of that's a long time ago now. I was at uni a long time ago. So that was probably when I started getting a bit more serious about sending it out. Definitely.
So, as you mentioned in your bio, that you are a managing editor of Street Cake magazine. So, what made you realize you want to start a magazine?
Well, that's kind of linked to the previous question, actually. So, when we were looking for places to send our work out during our masters, me and Trini, who was also at the same uni as me, so we did the BA and the MA together. We kind of looked around and we were like, there's not many places that are publishing the kind of writing we want to see, kind of a bit more experimental, a bit less traditional. So we sort of joked, oh, maybe we should start our own magazine. And then we kind of joked about it for a while. And then I think I went off to travel for a few months, and when we got back, we were at a poetry reading, and we were joking around again, like, oh, we should start our magazine. And our partners were there too, and we started brainstorming a name for it, and sort of and we ended up with Street Cake. So that was kind of like, oh, Street Cake, okay. And then we sort of started sending each other emails with Street Cake in the subject, and I think it just kind of stuck. And we didn't really know what we were doing, really, but we thought, well, we'll just set up a website. And for the first issue, we asked a couple of people we knew if they would send some work in that we knew that we liked, because we wanted to show people, obviously, what we wanted to see in the future. But we've never done that since. We've never solicited anything. It's all just whatever comes in. So yeah, it was kind of a bit of a strange idea that kind of suddenly became reality. And we haven't really looked back. We've had a great time doing Street Cake, so it's good.
Okay, so my next question is actually about what you just spoke. So as you talked about that the journal gives home to various experimental and hybrid pieces, so I want to ask you that what particularly drew you towards experimental poetry, that you decided that you want to give space to such type of pieces in your magazine?
Well, I always say that you have to kind of blame my university lecturers, because at the time when I went to university, it was back in, I'm just going to show how old I am now, but I was there 2003. for my BA. And at that point, there weren't that many places offering creative writing. I think I could only find about maybe 4 universities, and not all of them were doing full creative writing. It was just kind of parts of it, or sort of part of the year and stuff. But Roehampton was, and they were quite a new course, and the lecturers were kind of given the freedom that they wanted to do, whatever they wanted to do, they could kind of do. So what they did was they kind of taught us some of the traditional ways of writing. And then after a little bit of time, they sort of said, right, that's it. We've taught you the rules, now we're going to break them. And it was just a great thing. And they started showing us all these different types of writing and how we could kind of mess with the rules and do what we wanted. And even more when I decided to do the MA as well, they went even further, because it was called something like, I think it was creative and professional writing, but I think it was poetry and innovative poetics or something like that. So they showed us sound poetry and, stuff that's all over the page. There's like avant-garde stuff. And we had to kind of recreate that style and then kind of do what we wanted with it. And I think my final piece was just like this massive hybrid experimental thing going on. So yeah, it was they really encouraged you to kind of go off the beaten track and try new things. So definitely would have to blame them, but in a good way.
That's very nice. I mean, that somebody encouraged you towards experimental poetry. Now that you write as well as you edit a magazine, so has your viewpoint about the craft itself shifted or changed in some way?
What do you mean? Have I changed how I feel about experimental writing, or
No,
do I find
poetry
it
or
harder
writing
to,
in general.
do I find it harder to write now I'm an editor, or?
No. If there's any way that you believe that somehow your perspective has expanded after editing, something like that. If there is any change in such viewpoint, so please feel free to share.
Um, I guess I don't know. I'm not sure I can say loads about it, but maybe what I would say is that I guess if you're reading lots of people's different work that comes into the inbox all the time, you start to realize how quickly someone might judge your piece of writing. I mean, I like to read the whole thing, but I know a lot of editors might not do that. And also, it depends what kind of mood they're in, if you don't draw them in straight away. So yeah, I've realized that titles can be quite important sometimes, for example, having a quite strong opening and stuff like that. And it is important how it looks as well. If you choose a font that's just like really hard to read and stuff, and the editor's tired, and it's just like, no, this is not helping. So yeah, I guess I'm a bit more aware of those things, definitely. But also as an editor, I also realized that it's all subjective. So if I get a rejection, I usually just remember, well, maybe they just don't like that piece, or that's not for them, or that's not what they're looking for right now. And that's fine, because I sometimes think that even if it's someone I know, I might say back to them, look, I love your work generally, but I just don't, this piece just isn't what I'm connecting with. I'm not in love with this particular piece, but that doesn't mean that I don't like your work as a whole, because I do. So it's just so subjective that I think I'm less stung by rejections now than I would have been otherwise, for example. So it's useful.
Okay, so now I want to talk to you about your chapbook as well as your pamphlet. I think that has come, or is it coming?
It's actually come out now. Yeah, I was going to say my biography is a bit out of date. So yeah, it's there
Yay,
it is.
okay.
With my nan on the front there. She's in there.
That's so cool. I mean, so I want to talk to you about that, about your chapbook as well as your pamphlet. So if you would like to share about their themes, or what kind of work is there, and then where can people buy, if you can just talk about that.
Do you mean my new one?
Your pamphlet, yes.
Yeah, so it's out with Beabua, who are a great innovative publisher. They're quite new, but they've got some great people on the books. I mean, I've been buying all of the other authors' books and really enjoying them. So it's great, and they've got a great lineup coming as well into next year. So it's fantastic. And Michelle, who runs it, is so lovely and really nice to work with. So that's really made a big difference, because sometimes it can be tricky going through that process. But yeah, this pamphlet is quite personal. You know, of course, all writing is personal in a sense, but this one's more kind of overtly personal, I guess. Usually my experimental writing is a bit more, you know, veiled or hidden maybe, whereas some of this is a bit more kind of direct, I guess. So there is some kind of lyrical stuff in there and a bit of fiction, as well as more experimental stuff. So that's why I sent it to Berbua, because I thought that she might appreciate it, and luckily she did. So yeah, because it's kind of hard to find a place that might like hybrid pieces like that, but luckily there are some out there, so that's good. But yeah, it was a great it's great to have it out there, and I had a lot of fun doing it. And yeah, like I said, there's more experimental ones, you know, so that's kind of a more experimental piece. But then on the other side of it, there's, you know, just straight up fiction. So yeah, I'm not sure what else to say.
Okay. Okay, so I totally get it. Okay, so what where can one buy your book?
Well, via the Berbua site, it goes through to Lulu, which is the best place to buy it, really, because that's where everyone will get the most royalties and stuff, and the most money for the press, because they're actually fundraising as well to buy equipment for a hospital. I think it's a neonatal unit in Ireland. So, you know, if you want to support that, that's a much better way than buying it from Amazon, who will basically give you not much at all. But yeah.
Okay. Okay. So another accolade that you mentioned in your bio that I'm really impressed about. So first of all, I'm going to congratulate you on that. So you have been the winner of Virginia Prize 2020. So I want to talk to you about that. How did that happen? And talk about your achievement of it. It's bragging time, so just brag about it.
Yeah, I mean, the Virginia Prize is run by a small publisher called Aurora Metro, and it's a prize for women novelists. And I actually entered it on the last day of the submission window in 2019. I was actually on holiday, and I thought, oh, do you know what? I might just enter this prize. And luckily I had the file on my phone, so I sent it over. And it was a paid entry, and I don't normally pay to enter that many things, because I don't really, especially if it's too high. But this one I thought, well, I'll just give it a go. Because actually before that I was feeling a bit down on my fiction writing, especially my novels and stuff. So yeah, I was sort of been a bit of a funk. So anyway, I sent it in, and obviously because of COVID and stuff, there was some sort of delays and stuff. So they said, oh, we'll announce the long list. And that was a bit delayed, but then I was on it, which was weird. I was like, wow, okay. And then the shortlist took ages to come out, and then when it did come out, I wasn't on it. And I was sort of thinking, oh, okay, well, that's fair enough. At least I got longlisted. And then someone tagged me on Twitter a few weeks later saying, oh, congratulations to Nikki. And I looked again, and I was on the shortlist. So that was a bit weird. And I was like, why am I now on the shortlist? I wasn't before. And that was odd. And then randomly in July, they sent through a contract and said, you're the winner. Do you want to accept? And I was like, oh, okay. So I got the contract checked and stuff, because I was just really nervous about it and wanted to make sure it was actually real, and to make sure that I wasn't agreeing to a bad contract or something. So but yeah, then obviously I accepted. But then kind of the real hard work came after that, because obviously I'd started writing the book probably I don't know, 2013 or 14, and it was it took about maybe 3 years or something to actually finish it and stuff. And then I was obviously going back and editing it loads, as you do. But then when I sent it to the publishers, they came back with so many changes, like quite significant ones. And I was like, wow. But then it was actually a good thing, because I think it actually made the novel a lot better. Because I had to do a lot of research, because there's a police officer, a lawyer, and a therapist in the book, just to make it nice and easy for me. And I had to research all of those professions a lot more. And then I had to change some of the order. I had to change how some information was revealed and stuff. But actually, I think it made it a lot better and more succinct, because it was a little bit too long as well. And I think it kind of stripped back some of the stuff that you didn't need in there, which was great. So now I think it's a lot more gripping and sort of to the point than it was, which is great. And it's still got the characters in there. And, I think the thing I find most interesting is kind of relationships and interrelationships and stuff like that. So that's kind of something I like to have in my novels. It's not sort of plot, 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 plot. It's kind of, I like there to be like an emotional pull as well. So yeah, that was a long story. Sorry, Fizzer.
Please feel free to share as whatever you want to. Please feel free. So yeah, please go ahead if there is anything you'd like to talk more.
I know, I was just going to make the comment that I think all of my publications this year seem to be about memory, because obviously the pamphlet is about dementia, and my novel has a lot about memory in it as well. So it's quite, must be my theme of the year.
Okay, so sometimes these these things happen, so I can totally get you. Okay, so I want to request you now if there is any poem or story that you would like to share with us.
Yeah, I was thinking about reading something from my pamphlet, which was published in Untitled Writings Voices issues. I don't know if you know Untitled Writing. They're really, really great. You do know them, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, if people listening don't know them, then definitely check them out, because they have some great writers on their site, and they're also really awesome, lovely people. So support them. So I was going to read. It's just a really short piece of fiction called The Night Carer, and this is one of the first pieces I wrote for this pamphlet. So yeah, surprisingly, I'm reading fiction and not poetry, and I usually read poetry. So we'll see how it goes. Not long after you died, the night carer walked in. She was wearing a long coat, a bright colour. She smiled at us all, but her mouth twisted when she saw you lying in the bed. When someone walks in on grief, it can feel like they stole it. They absorb some of it, even though it wasn't theirs, or they throw the delicate seesaw off balance and you end up falling off. With the night carer, her eyes immediately grew wet and her tears flowed into us, our faces already soaked. A few more tears only added to the collection we were building. I wore this coat for her, she told us, pointing to you in the bed, as if you were still in the room to be talked about. And I realised you were. There was still a delicate web between the living and the dead. I kept expecting you to move, but I'd heard the final breath. It doesn't sound like any other breath you ever hear. It's such a full stop, a sledgehammer, an avalanche of rocks closing the exit behind you. She said it was her favourite, so I wore it especially, she continued, sitting down next to you as if she had a right to. No one moved. She stroked your arm so softly that it did feel like she had a right, some tenderness between you that we had never seen firsthand. I started. I know who you are, she interrupted. The night carer turned to all of us and said our names in turn. She'd never met us, but she got all of them right, then added some details she knew about all of us. She talked about you all night long, she added. A fresh bout of tears knocked me back against the wall. I imagined you, in the dark of the night, drawing us over and over, and my chest ruptured with love and the specificity of loss. I saw every particle in front of my eyes and I breathed it in. I can't even remember that night carer's name, but she is a feature whenever I think of your death.
I loved it. I loved it. Could you please share the link with me if I can read it somewhere? Is it in your book?
It's on the Untitled Writing website as well. But yeah, it's in the pamphlet as well. So yeah, I can send it over to you. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so that's about it. Okay, so guys, if you want to read more of Nikki's work, her website is nikkidudleywriter.com, or you can even find her on Twitter at nikkidudley20. So if you have any questions for her, please write in the comment section. And yeah, have a good day, maybe.